Welcome to episode 12 of Year of the Full Moon. For this movie, we went back to the Puppet Masters for our Puppet Master review. Yay. And we reviewed Curse of the Puppet Master. It came out in 1998, and this kind of works as a reboot to the franchise in a way. It's kind of a standalone sequel.
It was definitely
its own thing.
It didn't acknowledge anything from the others.
Now, it started out really promising. The opening credits were showing all the cool puppet effects from the previous movies.
Yeah.
And that was cool. But in this movie, the puppets barely move. They're barely in it.
How they
and
do
there's
it,
no
it's
stop
almost
motion.
like if, the screen cuts off right here. This is probably not how they did it, but it's like you took an action figure, grabbed it underneath it, and would move it so you didn't see the hand. It just felt like so stiff as they were moving.
When they were walking, it was just kind of like...
I think out of every Puppet Master so far, the articulation of movement, it was the worst.
It was.
And it kind of scares me because we got so many more to do that this might be the new, and CGI is going to take over.
There was no CGI, at least.
Honestly, how it was, I would have rather have had not the best CGI and had stuff happening than there's just a blocky... It was an instance of practical effects being used poorly.
And not only that, they're barely in it until the end.
You see them at the very beginning, and they're in a cage.
They're absent for 20
somehow,
minutes.
This movie's horrible for not explaining anything that happened up to this point.
Yeah, remember how the fifth movie ends?
It was a reboot.
Nothing to do with the fifth movie. They don't mention how the puppets have a new puppet master, who's this guy named Dr. McGrew, who owns a
Dr. McGrew
house of he has a house of different oddities with
but it starts off
other puppets and
they're
in
a cage in the basement
things.
And he's picking them up, picking up something. It's it'll be better next time or something like that, and he goes and burns it. And it started off and I'm like, is that supposed to be too long? Because it didn't elaborate.
I had no idea what was going on.
Until, you saw later that it's he's got a daughter that's home from college. Goes to this, stereotypical, country bumpkin guy who's wearing, a union shirt, unbuttoned, bibbed overalls, rolled up at the...
oh, shucks kind of guy.
Yeah, oh, shucks, man. I'm just a simple country guy. But it was a stereotype, and it was just... It was bad, and then he's... working at a gas station, some stereotypical bad thuggy guys harass him. The old man, Dr. McGrew, and his daughter come in and kind of help, and that's how they meet. And he brings them in, kind of takes them in, hey.
They realize he's really good at wood carvings, prodigy. So they bring him in to make more puppets for him because he's the puppet master now. And honestly, it's just. For 40 minutes, the story just kind of stales there.
It was 40 minutes, and 40 minutes out of a 77 or 87 or something like that.
I think it took around 50 minutes before puppets actually killed someone.
And then,
it was
one of the bad guys from the beginning, he gets really rapey at one point, and then the country guy kind of, does something to stop him, and then he, sneaks into the girl's window, rape you.
It's kind of what he does.
It was the most stereotypical. And then, Pinhead comes and attacks him, and then the guy ghetto stomps Pinhead into a pulp and leaves. And
so then Dr. McGrew takes the puppets to go kill him basically.
And this is the part I didn't like. The guy's no shirt on, just in his basement, rage lifting. He's lifting and he's just yeah, oh yeah, I could have said that, yeah. And then the puppets are there and they kill him, but he's knocking reps out, and they do it, and then next thing you know, he's ah, and it's he would, if he was doing it, he probably would have dropped. I thought it was going to be a cool,
that would have been cool.
It drops and hits him in the neck or the jaw and really messes his face and neck.
It's
just racked. And it made no sense how they shot it. They could
then he gets drilled in the penis. Made up for it a bit.
That brings me to the gore kill. I honestly didn't like the gore. It was no gore. It was purely, you get cut, you get a little bit of fake blood on you. And I felt, in the others, there was no, like, fake latex lacerations that are not easy, but they're, movie-wise, they're easy to do. And it goes a long way. It was just a classic, like,
Tunneler, when he's, like, going against someone, like, you'd see, like, bits of flesh go out, but not in this movie.
No, it was just blood. It was really bloody, but it wasn't gory. And maybe if the others were like that, I'd be like, oh, okay. But it just was a step back, gore-wise. And I was like, the kills were kind of low.
Yeah, they were, the best
like
one...
Was there 2 kills? Or...
It depends on what you count. Like, if you count the puppets, if you count, like, the Dr. McGrew dying at the end, which, to sum up the ending...
Oh, God, the ending pissed me off.
This is probably, like, the worst part of the movie for me, is... So, he's trying to, like, he uses, like, the prodigy that's helping him to, like, transfer his soul over to a new puppet, because he wants to make his own puppet. And he puts it into a puppet called Tank, which we'll talk about in a moment.
It's almost like a robot.
Kind of like the Capitron.
Yeah, it was like a robot. It has a screen that had his face on it. And what I was saying right when it happened, I was like, it looks like George Lopez's face in Shark Boy and Lava Girl on that stupid...
Like Electrodad is his name or something like that.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was retarded. And then, like, Dr. McGrew's like, oh, and then he, like, turns his hand to shoot him with, like, a laser.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to black, credits roll, and it's like, okay, that was retarded. It was...
Yeah, it ends with this puppet killing him, but I mean, like, immediately ends. Like, you don't even see him dead at the end. It just ends. And then, it was just the most disappointing thing. And the thing with this movie is, about halfway through the movie, I was thinking, I kind of dig this movie. I think I'm liking it more than 4 and 5, because it looks better. Like, the cinematography, just... everything going on, like, it feels like it's above, like, a typical full moon movie, like Hideous. It feels like it's above, like, this kind of B-level trash.
Yeah, it was definitely, like, how it was the boring parts.
It was shot really well.
It was shot like a normal, like, movie, and it was, in that aspect, it was good. But for me, the ending was awful. The kills were awful.
The puppets were barely in it.
Puppets were barely in it, too much dead time, and it didn't explain anything. And I get it. Reboots typically don't... They want it to be a standalone, so it's like you don't have to watch all these, no baggage. But there was just... Looking at it from a... I like this series standpoint, it was just kind of like...
It's not a good Puppet Master.
You could have threw away a line how you got these. It was entirely... It was probably my most disappointed so far in a movie.
Yeah. I would say... At the end, I would say it was definitely my least favorite Puppet Master movie. Yeah, and I would say some of the non-Puppet Master movies we reviewed would be better than it. I don't know, like, off the top of my head, like, maybe Bad Channels or some
Bad
of
Channels
those.
was better.
But this one just, it finally made me realize that, Puppet Master can have some bad movies, and I think because I bet they're going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm worried, because a lot of it felt lazy, the less of the... Because they were really good with stop motion and being articulated to, like, move at least a little bit.
No stop motion.
The only redeeming thing I liked was you find out what happened to his old assistant. He turned him into a messed up doll that wasn't a complete success. So he's like a miniature.
Human, half
and
doll.
how he was moving around, because he tried to burn him at the beginning, like I said. They find him at the end, and he's like half alive, but half doll, half human. He's like,
that looks cool.
And I was like, I'm like, that was pretty cool.
And you know what's a small, like, a direction I wish they went was this movie?
What?
The main character keeps having visions that he's becoming a doll. Like, he wakes up and his legs are gone and replaced with wood, and then also once he wakes up and takes the covers off, and is like inside of his stomach is a bunch of inner work.
They probably should have played off
all dream sequences. What if this movie was about, like, this guy, like, becoming a human living doll? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that could be pretty grotesque, because those scenes look cool.
And one thing I want to bring up, we watched the, what were those called?
The Video Zone.
Video Zone
behind the scenes feature.
Was it Hideous?
Of Hideous, yeah.
And it was talking about, like, here's this new cool, what was it called? A doll.
Doll called Bombshell.
Yeah, you see her head and her arms, but they blurred out here, so who knows what Bombshell looks like. But they're like, oh, you better watch out.
Be Curse of Puppet Master.
Better watch out for Bombshell. She's going to be, oh, yeah. And then we watched it. It was like, She's not in it. So that shows me between shooting that Video Zone for Hideous, and these were far apart.
No, not at all. 1 year.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit less.
Yeah, like Video Zone for Hideous and pre-production of the movie to it, they rewrote probably a good portion of it. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the daughter turned into a doll or something weird. That's actually... It was like, so that just shows there was some... And I've noticed with these Video Zones, there's a lot of stuff you hear about the next one that don't pop up. So...
Which is actually interesting. So I like how they can put them on these DVDs now, because they used to be on the VHS, where you could learn a lot of interesting stuff about it. Because it shows you behind the scenes of movies where it's just not what ends up happening. It shows you all the problems they have.
It happens to the point that it's like, they have these ideas and they change them.
Mm.
Probably right before production. And like with Bombshell, it's like, well, obviously that was a decent part of the movie if you're hyping it up like that. So I am curious what happened. I'm sure it was just like they had a different script.
They probably also maybe just didn't have the money to finish the design, or didn't finish in time.
That's probably it, just because you saw what the dolls were like. They probably had to cut corners on existing dolls. And they were like, well, we can't afford to... Well, we're just going to put in what we got so far. And it showed in the lack of gore. The plot wasn't great. The lack of
it
actual
could have been
gore.
Something. I think there was something there. Just
it wasn't executed properly.
Speaking of Bombshell, we'll just cover like the puppets in it. Obviously, we have like the core puppets. Was Blade, Tunneler, Pinhead, Jester. Six Shooter is back now. Why he's in 4, 5, and 6, but wasn't in 1 and 2?
Leech Woman.
Doesn't make sense. But yeah, Leech Woman is now back.
She
died in the second movie.
Doesn't explain how she came back.
Nope, she's just there. And speaking of, Torch, who appeared in the second movie, was not in 4 and 5 and was also not in this one. He's in archive footage and the opening credits, but that's it. And then for linear, not less important puppets, the Freak, which is what Shane talked about, is the original assistant who turned into like the weird half human, half puppet.
They just left him alive when the girl found him, freaked out. And I'm like, you should have just killed it. Poor guy.
Tank is the name of the puppet that like the main.
Are you ever going to
character
see
gets
Tank again?
put in, and I think he might appear in a comic book.
I just feel like you're never going to see Tank again.
I doubt you see Freak. Also, this is also a little one like I looked up because I noticed it during the filming. It's a little thing, but there's a part where the police officers are entering the building to get to Dr. McGrew, and the transitioning shot is you see like this puppet in the corner, and his eyes look over to the door.
Yeah.
And it was like a ventriloquist dummy, but he's like, is it an actual like a live puppet or just?
Yeah, I was actually wondering the same thing.
He's known as Dummy. I don't think he ever appears again. So it's not really any new puppets really, except for like the burned Freak puppet.
I would have recommended. I don't even consider those because they're not active puppets.
They didn't do much.
If you're doing a reboot, you're gonna add 1 or 2 new puppets. That's needs to be. You don't just keep an old. You want to make it new, because then it just felt like instead of a reboot, just an addition, and it was a bad addition. So
at the same time, if you can't do that, why not put Torch in it? Torch is like the coolest of the new puppets you added since the first movie.
They probably couldn't do that
flamethrower, and it's so disappointing because you see him in the opening credits, but nope, he doesn't appear in the movie.
Yeah, I'm worried about the next few movies. I think they're gonna.
We've only seen Torch in one movie.
It probably goes like this, and maybe it eventually starts going up again. But I'm foreseeing the next few are probably gonna keep going down.
Yeah, we're going down now. So I guess tune in the next 2 weeks, and we'll talk about another episode of Year of the Full Moon.
It'll be interesting to see what happens because I have no idea.
Hopefully, if it's better than Curse of the Puppet Master. So
I have my doubts, though.
Stay tuned. We're hoping these get better. No promises.